Hello everyone, we are Group 32. Our video will be released on Bilibili on November 24. Today we want to talk about the topic of the relationship between birth rate and GDP in China and worldwide. This report investigates the relationship between birth rate and economic development using reliable data for China and the world. The study shows that there is a long-term negative relationship between the birth rate and the GDP per capita. The data we collected is sourced from National Bureau of Statistics, World Development Indicators, and the United Nations for all countries in the world. The challenge was to collect and properly process this raw data into a format that we could easily handle in Tableau. The good news is that we succeed in the end and we integrate the different data sources together for analysis. Our analysis is divided into 3 parts and integrated in one story. There are 3 members in our group, namely Kemou Li, Dengfeng Yao, and Shukui Liu. Each section will be presented by our members next. So let's get started.
The first part is about the annual changes in birth rates since the founding of New China and the changes and ranking of birth rates by province since the 20th century. For the first figure, we use a line chart. It can be seen that the birth rate first decreases and then increases, with a general downward trend after 1960s, reaching its lowest level in 2020. We try to explain the data changes in the context of historical events. In the early years of the People's Republic of China, the Chinese government encouraged fertility and followed the example of the Soviet Union by giving women who had more children the honorary titles of heroic mother and glorious mother. The birth rate was above 30 per thousand from 1949 to 1957, and a great leap forward launched at 1958. Directly caused the 3-year hardship period, from which the birth rate declined continuously from 1959 to 1961. The baby boom occurred after 1962, peaking in 1965 and lasting until 1979, when the national economic situation gradually improved and compensatory births came with great force, with the birth rate ranging from 30 per thousand to 40 per thousand, reaching an average of 3,000, with a total of 250 million births in 10 years. This represents 20% of the current total population of China. It is the main baby boom with the largest number of births in China's history, and the greatest impact on the economy later. The third baby boom occurred from 1986 to 1991 and was created because China's main baby boom became established and entered the childbearing age, called the Echo baby boom. The year 1990 was the largest birth year of these 6 years. Due to family planning policies, the total number of births in its baby boom was not as large as the main baby boom, but it was still 130 million, which is 1/10 of the current Chinese population. The rapid decline began in the 1990s is largely attributable to the implementation of family planning policies. The birth rate fell from 15.64 per thousand in 1998 to 12.86 per thousand in 2002, and then remained at the same level until 2015, when the trend was slightly reversed. This small increase was mainly due to the enactment of comprehensive two-child policy after the fertility policy adjustment. The graph showed that after peaking at the stage in 2016, the birth rate rapidly declines to per thousand in 2020, the lowest since the founding of the country. The second graph is a map of birth rates by province, with red color indicating higher birth rates and blue colors indicating lower rates. The third graph is the birth rate ranking by province. The higher the birth rate, the higher the position. We can select the year to see the situation for each year. Here we take 2019 as an example. You can see that Tibet, Qinghai, Ningxia occupy the top 3, and Heilongjiang, Jilin, Liaoning count down the top 3. Further, we can see the birth rate is generally low in the northeast, and municipalities directly under the central government, and higher in the west and southern China. In conclusion, China, especially in the northeast, is facing a severe fertility decline.
The second part is presented next. The relationship between birth rate and GDP for China as a whole, and for each province since the reform and opening up. The first graph is about the comparison of birth rate and GDP per capita in China over the years. The birth rate is a dashed line, and the GDP per capita is shown as a bar. Since the implementation of China's reform and opening up policy in the late 1970s, economic development has achieved a world-renowned success. But the birth rate has been on a downward trend and has continued to decline in recent years and reaches a new low in 2020. Now let's look at the different provinces as expressed by the graphs on the right and below. In the graph on the right, for ease of understanding and presentation, we have combined the map function to represent each year by province, and you can manually select a year to view, and the darker the color of the map, the higher the GDP per capita. The circles above each province in the map represent the birth rate, with red indicating a lower birth rate and green a higher birth rate. With the help of this chart, we can easily see the specific data of each province. To view more clearly the relationship between GDP per capita and the birth rate, we also use the following graph to further explain it. In the scatter plot, the horizontal is the GDP per capita, the vertical is the birth rate, and each point represents a province. The gray line is the result of linear regression of the data. Taking the latest 2019 data as an example, the birth rate and the GDP per capita of Chinese provinces are generally negatively correlated. For example, Beijing and Shanghai have high GDP per capita and low birth rates, but there are some exceptions. 3 northeastern provinces are unique in that low GDP per capita is accompanied by low birth rates. So, in conclusion, since the reform and opening up, China's GDP per capita and the birth rate have been negatively connected.
The third part is to show the whole world birth rate and GDP data. We collect world birth rate data from United Nations, Department of Economic and Social Affairs, and GDP data from World Development Indicator. And in the first world map, we divide the country income level into four levels: high income level, low income level, lower middle income level, upper middle income level. And we take a 2020 date as example. From the map we can see quite clearly that the country with higher income level get lower birth rate. And the second and third sheets shows China and the world birth rate position. In 2020, China gets low birth rate as 11.29. And in conclusion, consider the whole world. People in high-income countries seems to be less willing to have children. And as for China, the continuous decline in China's birth rate is related to China's rapid economic development. More importantly, a too low birth rate will affect future development. We need to start paying attention to this problem and work to solve it.